Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another very interesting review. We've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex model, as you can see right here, by the obvious species title right here, but clearly by the skeletal reconstruction we have here on the front. You can also see that it is in 1/35th scale, and you can also see the name of the company that makes it. This is a very cool company that actually was teaming up with GR Toys for a little bit there, creating some really cool figures, but they've now kind of branched out on their own. They not long ago released a really cool Quetzalcoatlus. Now we have a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and they've also actually recently released a Therizinosaurus, so definitely some fun stuff, both of which we actually have here to take a look at. But we're going to begin here with the T-Rex, and definitely excited to take a look at this. If you take a look here at the side, even though it is upside down, you can see some more information about the company and everything, all that kind of stuff. Once we turn it around, you can see again that it's basically the same thing that we had seen on the initial side. And then here on the top, you can see that we again have Tyrannosaurus Rex, the company name, and we also have 3 different colors here. And that's because they actually released 3 different color variants of this Rex. Now, normally, I always purchase all different color variants of every release if possible. This time, I switched it up a little bit. I went with just one color. I chose the brown one because I thought it looked the best. I may eventually get the other 2, and if I do, I'll probably review them just to show them off to you guys, but as of right now, I only grabbed the one coloration here, again, the brownish color. So let's go ahead, pop this box open, and check it out. So as soon as we open the packaging, first of all, we've got kind of a nice card here that shows off the 3 different color variants of the Rex, and definitely looks really cool. I actually like all 3. I just haven't acquired all 3 quite yet. But then here on the back, you can see again a really cool kind of a silhouette of the Rex that holds the skeletal reconstruction, as well as a human being there next to our Rex. The company name again, I unfortunately have no idea how you would say this name. So if somebody can tell me in the comment section how you pronounce the name of this company, that would be awesome, so I can actually state their name in future reviews, but I personally have no idea how to pronounce that. And then again, you can see Tyrannosaurus Rex, but very cool card that's included. We've also got ourselves a base for the Rex, and the base is honestly phenomenal. Like, wow, I'm really impressed with how nice this base looks. It's really big. You can see it here in my hands, definitely pretty big, very thick, and has a very good amount of weight to it, so it straight away is very impressive, and I love the water added onto it. Anytime any company releases a base that has some sort of water effect on it, I don't know why, I'm just always a huge fan of that, but that looks really awesome. And then we've got our Tyrannosaurus model itself, and this thing is really, really good. Like, sculpt-wise, maybe not your most accurate interpretation of a Tyrannosaurus, though I still think it looks really nice. It's not quite how we view Rex, or at least it's not quite how we've been viewing him lately, with kind of like that big, chunky sort of a look, but it definitely looks really cool, and the paint job is so much better than I imagined it would be. Like, such a major improvement from the Quetzalcoatlus that they had released, and I was a pretty big fan of the Quetzalcoatlus, but I really feel like the coloration and paint application of this one looks so much nicer than the Quetzalcoatlus did. And I'm not entirely sure how we are supposed to put our Rex on the base. I would assume like that, maybe, because there's not really any pegs or footprints or anything that I noticed that definitely tells me exactly how it goes on there. But that is a really, really nice looking T-Rex. Way better, again, than I was expecting it to be. I think the only thing at this point that I'm not super sold on when it comes to this figure is the sort of weird looking placement of the arms. Like, the left arm there is kind of reaching up, whereas the right arm is held into the body. I feel like it would have looked nicer if both arms were kind of held into the body, similar to what the right arm looks like, but it's not bad. It's not terrible or anything. It almost looks like the Rex is about to kind of reach up and maybe itch its face or something like that, but still really cool looking. Definitely a big fan of what I'm seeing already, so let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our T-Rex, you can see some beautiful looking skin texture, some beautiful looking scale detail, quite a bit of difference when it comes to the different scales. You can see quite a bit of work went into the sculpting of the fine detail of this Rex. You can also pick up on some kind of larger scales leading up here toward the top of the head. Very nicely painted eye. Look at that eye. That eye is beautiful looking. Also has a fantastic gloss coat on it that you can see there, shining as I turn the head there of the Rex. You can also see some really nice looking coloration to the face of our T-Rex. You can see quite a bit of different variations of browns, as well as a beautiful darkening there in the eye socket area. And then, of course, some really nice whites here in the face, but you can also see those browns kind of stripe and design through. Really smooth, very naturalistic application of the paint. Everything on this looks completely like body color as far as I can tell. You can also see some kind of orangish tones here running along the top of the head there of the Rex, up above the eye, which looks really nice. You can also see some of the browns, kind of like reddish browns, running down here into the lower jaw, and again, more of that light coloration, that kind of white or like a light gray. Very nice looking. Of course, you've got an articulated jaw for your Rex, and look at how fantastic the inside of the mouth looks from where we can see here with the, actually we can get it even wider, with the really nice gloss coat. Look at the detailing in there. That's beautiful. And they've also applied, like, first of all, they have a really nice pinkish tone, very realistic, I think, pinkish tone, but you can see that they've given it kind of like a reddish wash, adding some nice color variation there for the inside of the mouth. You've also got a very nicely sculpted tongue, and that gloss coat is honestly phenomenal there on the inside of the mouth. Look at the incredible detailing there, if my camera would focus on it. The incredible detailing on the inside of the mouth on the upper side. Again, quite a bit of color. You could see almost like tones of purple in there, pinks and reds. And again, that gloss coat looks fantastic, even leading back there into the throat region. The teeth as well actually look really nice. I think definitely a very nice upgrade in quality on this Rex compared to the previous releases. You've also got some very nicely, again, sculpted out teeth here for the lower jaw. Every tooth sculpted individually, it looks like. Some kind of appear to be slightly together, some back there slightly together, but for the most part, they're kind of all sculpted individually. You can see that here again on the upper side. And I also love, as we run down the teeth closer to the jawline, you can see the coloration of the gums. We have a really nice pinkish tone for the gums as well. And the teeth have, of course, that fantastic gloss coat like we saw on the inside of the mouth, but just generally a really realistic tone of color for them. The teeth look incredibly lifelike as well. Just really nice looking, and the jaw articulates super smoothly. As you start to lead back here into the neck of our Tyrannosaurus Rex, you see some osteoderms here running along the back of the neck. Some more really nice looking scale detail, kind of like some skin wrinkles, skin folds. You can just generally see movement there in the neck of our T-Rex, as well as maybe even a little bit of muscle tone. But you can just see so many different varying tones of color there. As I'm turning it, there's just a lot of color, which I think that's always something that can make your figure look, it'll make it go from looking like a decent model to looking like a living animal. And I feel like they've done a very good job of applying many different tones of color that absolutely allow this to look more like a living animal, more so than a model. Like, just running down, I can see blacks, I see yellows, browns, different variations of browns, even whites. You can see some nice dry brushing has been applied, some more yellows and more browns and everything here on the underside of the Rex leading down into the throat. There's also kind of like a nice wash you can see that's been applied so that each one of the scales just pops so beautifully, so realistically, and you can continue to see the throat here of the dinosaur as you move down. As you lead back up here, again, down into the body a little bit, you can see some nice skin wrinkling, skin creasing as you lead down into the arm. The arm is nice and small, and it darkens as you lead out toward the hands to a very dark, either a dark brown or a black. The nails also look really good. They genuinely look sharp, which is a plus. And no specific nail paint, because the color darkens so much so there on the hands that it looks like the nail paint. No, actually, I take that back. I can definitely see a slight difference in tone. So it's more like a dark gray for the nails and a very dark brown, it looks like, for the hands. You can kind of pick up on some muscle definition, but it's not super visible. Again, you can see the skin wrinkles and skin folds as we lead back up into the body, kind of showing the movement of that arm and how it's kind of lifting up. Again, it almost looks like the Rex is about to scratch its head, because the Rex also has its head turned slightly as that hand is coming up. And you can also see we have a really nice light gray coloration that runs along the back of our Rex, but in between the grays you can also see the brown striping through, which has a very cool looking design to it, and definitely something that, again, I think looks super nice on it. Really natural, definitely a coloration I could see this animal being, because even though there's some really nice tones of color to it, some nice elements of flashiness to it, it's not overly flashy to the point where it would stick out like a sore thumb if it were kind of hiding and trying to ambush prey or anything like that. You can again see as we move up here into the stomach region, you can kind of pick up on the rib cage a little bit right there, but the dinosaur absolutely has a little bit of girth to the stomach, so it's a very well-fed version of a T-Rex. Lots of really nice skin wrinkles and skin folds, especially as you lead down lower into the stomach, and the Rex has its leg trailing quite a bit over here, so you can see how the skin is stretching off of the stomach, but also some wrinkling right there behind the arm. Again, some really nice paintwork. You've got some nice dry brushing as you lead up here into the stomach. Again, some more skin folds as you lead up along the back of the stomach here, running along the thigh, and lots more really nice coloration. As you can see, some nice light yellows, and you've got some beautiful browns, even some really darker browns, and then even reddish browns up here. But then as you lead back up to the back, again, you've got that really nice light gray running along the spinal column. You can also kind of see scoots running along the spinal column of the Rex, and some scoots here at the top of the hip, which is very nicely elaborated there in the sculpt. You've also got some nice muscle definition here in the thigh, some very nice kind of striping running here from the front of the thigh toward the back, and it also lightens up a little bit with a yellow right there in the center of the thigh, and you can see again just like some black speckles, some really nice tones of browns, even some elements that looks like almost of greens in there. And you have a little bit more of kind of like that light gray dry brushing here leading from the back. Again, nice wrinkling here in the joint of the knee. You can kind of make out the kneecap in general there in the front. Nice shin here to the front of the Rex. Again, some more light dry brushing in that area. The coloration is lightening a little bit as you lead down into the calf. You can definitely pick up on the calf muscle. Also nicely sculpted out and elaborated there. But again, there's just so much color. This is honestly quite impressive as far as the amount of coloration applied to this Rex. Really making me want to now pick up the other two. And then as you lead down into the foot sculpt, you've got some fantastic scoots running down the front of the foot. A very nice, very bird-like, I would say, foot sculpt for our Rex. And you can see how the nails are, again, that very dark gray. You've also got some more nice light dry brushing there running along the foot. Really smooth transition to kind of like a darker tone of gray for the feet, but then highlighting all of the detail again with that nice light gray dry brushing. And then leading up here, you can see more skin wrinkles again because the leg is trailing, kind of wrinkling that skin up right there in the back of the tail. Or I should actually say the back of the thigh leading into the beginning of the tail. But again, you can see how those darker browns run down, and look at how smooth and natural that paint application is. That looks really nice. Again, obviously applied very smoothly with an airbrush. You can see a few more kind of osteoderms and stuff as you lead back. And look at how vibrant that scale detail is. That is really, really nice looking scale detail. And you can also see as we move it here how smooth the transition is from the darker tone of color to the lighter tone here for the underside. You can almost see like elements of pinks and stuff in here as well. And what's cool is up here on the top, as we transition out, we go from that really nice light gray to a beautiful greenish tone. As you lead out here into the tail, we continue to have that brown striping, but again, a very, very nice, very appealing looking tone of color as you lead out. I actually would have liked to have seen this Rex potentially with that light green the entire way through, but I do like and appreciate the color difference, making it look really neat. And you can also see it transitions back to that kind of brown, like almost like an orangish brown here out on the tip of the tail. Really nice naturalistic curve to the tail as well, which you can see has a very beautiful curve, nothing overly dramatic or anything like that. The underside also sports some really nice detail. You do have a cloaca, which you can pick out right there. Very, very nice looking sculpt and beautiful looking paint application on the underside as well. And then taking a look over here at the opposing side of the head isn't going to look too different over here. Basically what we'd like to see is, does it look just as precise and beautiful as it did on the initial side? And I absolutely think so. I think everything looks great over here. And when you have the Rex facing straight forward at you, you can kind of see it looking straight at you, which is definitely nice to see. But again, you've got some really nice skin detail. I feel like a little bit less. You can see more wrinkling increasing on that side, more so than you see over here because the Rex is turning its head away from us. You can kind of see more like tensing over here, I would say. More so than skin wrinkles and stuff like that, which is pretty much exactly what I would expect to see over here on this side. As you lead down, you can see this arm again is held into the body in what I would say is a little bit more of a natural position than the left arm. We continue to have amazing looking paintwork through the entire figure. Again, some nice detailing here of the stomach as far as the scale detail. You've got the ribs yet again, some nice skin wrinkles, skin folds and stuff. Really love the pinkish tones here as you lead down. Lots of really nice color variation, again, just like we had on the other side through the entire Rex. You can see this leg is stepping forward here on this side, so you're kind of wrinkling the skin right there, but you can also see the skin stretching off of the tail. Nice muscle definition, again, a plethora of coloration throughout, and again, just amazing looking scale detail that is really, really vibrant on this figure. You can see some nice detailing there to the front of the knee running down the shin, nice calf muscle. And you can also see again as we lead down into that really nice foot sculpt that we have that light dry brushing like we saw on the initial side. We do also have dew claws, which I failed to mention prior, but then you lead back up here again into the tail. You've got a few more osteoderms and stuff, and you lead out again as we transition to that really nice greenish tone. But man, that is actually way better than I was expecting. Like, I was pretty excited for it. I really was, especially after their Quetzalcoatlus was so nice. But this Rex is far and away the best figure that I've seen from them so far, though I haven't taken a look at the Tyrannosaurus yet, but I really, really like this Rex. And then we've got our base, which again is really quite hefty. Like, it actually has some pretty significant weight to it. Again, some really nice tones of grays throughout. You've got a really nice earthy area for this base. You've also got kind of like some vegetation, like some moss or something. It's not just painted on or anything. Like, you can see it's legitimately like applied to it, which is really cool. Again, adding a little element of realism to it. There's also a nice kind of a light gray dry brushing to highlight all of that really nice looking detailing through the earthy area. You've got kind of like an old log over here, which looks pretty good. You've got some big rocks and stuff as you move through, and then you lead down here and you just have this little area of water right here, which looks really cool. And you also have a really nice tone, a really appealing looking kind of bluish tone for the water, which looks really nice. And again, you've got that nice water effect throughout that entire area, which I absolutely love. And pretty much the entire thing, again, just looks incredibly lifelike. You can also see the water kind of leaking through the rocks and running out the other side. So an incredibly realistic, very, very highly detailed base, again, for this awesome T-Rex. You also have a nice soft underside so it doesn't damage anything that you put it on. Definitely love the base to go with this beautiful Rex. As far as a size goes for our T-Rex, for a length, you are looking at about 13 3/4 inches, or around 35 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point, I guess, potentially would be the snout. You're looking at around 5 inches, or about, I'd say, approaching 13 centimeters. And one thing that's also really cool, you can see the Rex balances really nicely. Like, it's pretty stable. You can see it definitely is pretty stable. Of course, if I flick it or something, it's going to fall over, but it can stand really quite nicely. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. Actually, let me move this guy right here in front, and you can get a pretty good idea, I think, of the size of the Rex. But just in general, it's 1/35th scale, so you should have a pretty good idea, again, roughly of what the size of the Rex would be, because there are numerous other 1/35th scale Tyrannosaurs out currently. And actually, to show you that for another comparison, here we have Wilson the Tyrannosaurus Rex in for a size comparison, and you can definitely see that they are fairly similar in size overall, not too far off, and definitely look cool together, that's for sure. They definitely could make a pretty cool diorama next to each other. But for another comparison, here is quite possibly one of the nicest figures of all time. We've got the GR Toys Carcharodontosaurus here next to the Tyrannosaurus, and you can definitely get a pretty good idea again of the size. They're not too far off either as far as a comparison goes. I think the Carcharodontosaurus might be a little longer, but maybe not. They actually might be around the same size. It's a little hard to tell unless I maybe put them next to each other. So yeah, I think the Carcharodontosaurus is just a little bit longer here than our Tyrannosaurus, but fairly similar in size overall. Then for another comparison, we have the Quetzalcoatlus that I've been speaking about quite frequently through this review here next to our Tyrannosaurus. So again, giving you a pretty good idea of the size, but also showing you again, in my opinion, quite a bit of improvement on the overall quality of the figure, because I really did like that Quetzalcoatlus, but I feel like this new T-Rex is just like a lot nicer as far as the overall quality goes. But for another comparison, there is the GR Toys Dicraeosaurus next to our T-Rex here, and again, you can see again roughly of what the size is. I think this figure here might have actually been the figure that was a combination between the company that makes this Rex and GR Toys, if I can recall correctly. I could be wrong, but I think this one might have been that figure. But you can again see how these ones here size up next to each other if you happen to have the Dicraeosaurus. And then for a final comparison with just a few randoms, we've got the standard version of the Collectae Deinonychus, as well as the Safari Ltd Tyrannus here next to our T-Rex, again to just give you one final comparison to hopefully give you an idea of the size. So this brand new T-Rex release is honestly really nice, like so much better than I expected it to be. And I think the sculpt is actually really nice. Again, maybe not perfectly your most up-to-date T-Rex because it's not quite as big and bulky as we kind of see it portrayed mostly nowadays, but I still think it looks really good. As far as the detailing, like this thing is detailed to the max. There's pretty much every ounce of skin detail, skin wrinkles, scale detail, everything you would expect to see is just applied to this in the most beautiful fashion, and the actual fine detail is incredibly crisp. Like, it absolutely pops on this sculpt, and that is really nice to see. I think the detail, not only the paint, but the detail in general is like a little bit of a higher quality than we saw in the Quetzalcoatlus as well. It's just really impressive overall how good the detail looks. And I think the paintwork might be even more impressive somehow than the sculpt itself, because the paintwork is fantastic. Like when this company had teamed up with GR Toys to release the Dicraeosaurus, which again I believe was the figure that they had teamed up on, I was in love with the figure, first of all. It was fantastic. But when you go from those two working together to then separating, and then you kind of compare the quality of what you usually see with GR Toys compared to the quality of what we saw with their Quetzalcoatlus, like, it kind of looked like a little bit of a decline in quality, if you ask me, when it comes to the sculpting and paint aspect. But this, I would say, is equally as beautiful as anything that would be released from GR Toys as far as that paint application goes. And that's one of the things that I was so in love with when it comes to GR Toys, was how good their paint apps were. And I am so unbelievably pleased to see how good the paint apps are on this Rex. It just looks so good. They've done a great job of applying so many different tones of color, giving it an incredibly realistic and natural design as far as the paint application goes. They've also applied some nice dark washes, and they've done it in a way that it really looks natural. It doesn't take away from the paint at all. Like, it's just so incredibly beautiful to look at as far as the actual paint application goes. And again, just tons of color throughout, just showing that there is zero laziness when it comes to this release. And then you also have the base. The base is very nicely done, similar, I would say, to the Dicraeosaurus base. Kind of almost has that same design with like the little area of water and then the nice earthy area, but it looks great. Super realistic. The entire thing is sculpted in possibly the most realistic way, and also painted in the most realistic way. Like, it genuinely looks like a chunk of the earth that they just included in this set, which is pretty much the best possible compliment you could give a base. It really does look as lifelike and realistic as possible, and definitely adds a nice visual here with the Rex kind of walking along that area. So as a whole, this is actually a fantastic release, and so much better than I was expecting it to be. But now my expectations are pretty high when it comes to this company, so we'll just have to check out the Tyrannosaurus as well and see if that one can hold up to as beautiful as this Rex here is. And I'm probably going to have to now buy the other two different paint variants of this Rex, because I love this one so much, and I'm probably going to love the other two just as much. So if you are interested in picking this up, I actually ordered it from Lana Time Shop. I highly recommend them. I stated this in my recent Nanmu 5th Anniversary T-Rex review. They are fantastic. So glad I ordered from them recently, but kind of bummed that I hadn't ordered from them prior. So they're very good at shipping their items very quickly, and it arrived really quickly as well. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on Lana Time Shop. So make sure you check that link. Go ahead, grab yourself this or any of the other paint variants of this really nice Tyrannosaurus, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.